Hello, welcome again, everyone, to the fourth edition of Lift India Filmotsav and Awards World Cine Fest 2020, a virtual meet. Today, we are in conversation with the founder of Lift India, Mr. Riju Bajaj, and director of movie called RICKSHAWALA, and that's Mr. Ram Kamalji, and also Sahitya, one of the selection panelists. And I'm Madhavi. So let's begin the show.
Hi, Madhavi. Welcome, Ram Kamal.
Hi, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's an honor and pleasure to be a part of this uh, discussion, and it's nice to meet you virtually. Otherwise, I guess we would have met personally. But nonetheless, my best wishes to you and your entire team for this wonderful endeavor.
Thanks a
Thank you
lot.
for your
Thanks a
kind
lot.
words, Ram. Hi, Sahitya.
Hi. How are you?
Hello,
Good.
everybody.
Yes.
Hello,
So,
everybody. And
yes.
hi, Sahitya.
So, yeah. So, Madhavi
Yeah,
has a lot of questions to ask you, Ram. So, as
Yeah.
we say,
I'm
the
always
ladies
on
first.
the
So,
radar,
it's
so I'm
it's
going to ask
best
you,
that
sir.
we make way
Yeah,
for her.
okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for giving me this pleasure to ask such a great director about his film Rickshawala. So I want to ask you a very important question that in the beginning we see that you have specifically written as this is a tribute to Mr. Om Puri ji, actor Om Puri ji. So could you please enlighten us with that on
Definitely.
that note?
My film Rikshawala, if you see, I mean, it is really strange that in spite of the fact that this is the most eco-friendly vehicle that we have since our independence, and
Right.
their life has been very interesting, the life of Rikshawala. But there are only two films which actually focused on the life and the journey of rickshawalas in our country, in India. So I think Bimal Roy's Do Biga Zameen, which Balraj Sahani ji played a rickshawala, and much later in Roland Joff's Hollywood film City of Joy, Om Puri ji played the role of rickshawala.
Mm-hmm.
So, so when I was actually making this film, and I was thinking about, why nobody touched upon the subject, or nobody ever thought of making a film in Hindi, um, or in Bengali. I was just wondering that why nobody touched upon such a relevant subject. And in today's time, I think it is more relevant because in 2006, the human rights have declared this hand-pulled rickshaw, which we see in Calcutta, only in
Mm-hmm.
Calcutta now, as
Yes.
not legal. I would not term it illegal, but they are saying that it's inhuman to have a human being pulling the burden of two other human beings in a vehicle. So, according to human rights, it's become illegal in their town. And I think Supreme Court has also passed an order where this needs to go
Yeah,
off
it
the
was
road.
in 2016. That what you mentioned in.
Correct. So it needs to go off the road. So that's when I actually thought of telling the story of this age-old vehicle, which is a metaphor in my film, which also depicts the journey of life in general of human being. And when you talk
Mm-hmm.
about a particular journey, you need to have the core part very strong. The metaphor needs to be very strong. And what
Yes.
else, or what better it could be to take something which is you can call heritage, you can call part of the history, you can call art, you can call emotion, and that is dying. And we are being very judgmental about the people who actually pull rickshaw. Uh, it also delves deep into the migrant issue, which I think is global issue now. So it is not just the rickshawala's life; it is also about the migrant issue, which I have touched upon, and completely not knowing about this whole pandemic or the COVID situation that India went through, and all the migrants faced the issues in individual states. It was not obviously in my mind, because while I was shooting, there was nothing of that sort. So, but I felt from within, from my heart, because I'm born and brought up in Kolkata, in the city. I uh, I knew them personally. I knew rickshawalas. As a kid, also I had a fixed rickshawala taking me from home to school. So so these are the personal anecdotes which actually got infused into the script, uh, and the story, which is beautifully written by Shoikat Das and Gargi Mukherjee along with me. So I
Yes.
think it's beautiful. I mean, the journey and the making of Rickshawala is something which I'm very close to.
Well, yes, it's very touchy movie, you know.
I'm
Well,
sorry, I'm sorry for interrupting. Uh, uh,
oh,
just
yeah,
talking about Om Puri ji, it is
yeah.
Om Puri ji was the only actor who actually, after Balraj Sahani, who actually took this story to global platform. Because City of Joy being a pure Hollywood film, I mean, it went on to that global platform, and we all talk about the film, and not just that. I mean, the film became so iconic that we call Calcutta as City of Joy. I mean, the book was the
Mhm.
novel was very popular, and it was based on the novel. So so the film became so iconic. Om Puri ji and Shabana ji, I mean, they were brilliant in the film. So why not? And I mean, it's the 70th birth anniversary of Omji. So what
Yes.
what's the best? I thought this is the best time to kind of pay tribute to the person who actually believed in good script, good characters, and gave his entire life to independent cinema and to the great masters.
I'll just take a moment
Hi.
from you, Madhvi, just to insert a point here,
Sure.
since Ram Kamal he is talking about a tribute to Om Puri.
Yes,
Our
yes.
Lift India Awards, most of the awards are named after, in memory of a few eminent personalities who've left us. For example, the Best Actor Award is named after Om Puri. So it is known as the Lift India Om Puri Best Actor Award.
Wow,
This is in conjunction with the Om Puri Foundation.
wow,
This is for your information. We also have some other awards which are named after some stalwarts like Ismail Merchant. We have a Best Producers Award, which is named after Mr. Ismail Merchant. We have an
yeah,
Editors Award, which is named after Renu Saluja. We have the Art Production Design Award, which is named after Samir Chanda. We have the Cinematography Award, which is named after Mr. V.K. Murthy. I personally have done about 4 or 5 films with him. As an actor, of course. I
wow.
mean, I've just enjoyed the way he used to light me up. We always used to discuss that, okay, he has to put some extra light on me. So, and a lovely person. I mean, he's a master. He is trained. He's been cinematographer for Guru Dutt ji, for Govind ji, for Shyam Benegal ji. And I've been very
Of
fortunate to
course,
have done multiple films with Govind ji and Shyam ji, even Amul Palekar, Rosai Paranjpe, and Sudhir Mishra. I can just boast around that I'm one of those few actors who worked with all these directors and not got stuck in campism. So
you're fortunate and you're blessed, and you should
uh,
just tom about it, because you're just too lucky.
yes, I mean, yes, of course. And I was ensuring that I get to work with the best of the directors in the 90s, and I did find my way through them. And that's when I bumped into Mr. V.K. Murthy, and I was fortunate to have been shot by him. So it was very, what do you say, natural for me to term the Cinematography Award after him. And we have the Music Award in the memory of Mr. Khemchand Prakash, who happened to be my grandfather, and but he's iconic for Tansen and Mahal film, and for
Of
having
course, I
having
know.
given the legends like Naushad, Lata ji, and Kishore ji, and Asha Bhosle, they all began his career with him. So yeah, so this is for your information. Since you're paying tribute to a legend, this festival is based and established to pay tribute to all the legends that we have
So
and
no
fought.
name attached to the best director award.
No, not as yet. Not as yet, because that's an area which I wanted to, but I have not been able to get the name as yet. The moment we get, I'll let you know. We already got a permission for last year. We established our sound design award in memory of Mr. Mangesh Desai.
I
Uh,
can suggest a name if I'm
sure,
allowed to. I don't know.
please, please, yes, yes, why not? Yeah, anything which is good and
I
will
think
help the
everybody will
fraternity,
be
why
very
not?
proud. Everybody will be very proud and honored to get a Satyajit Ray Best Director award
Of
because
course, but I think there is already an award in his name.
What?
The concept with the Lift India was that we pick up names which are not usually taken elsewhere.
unfortunately there aren't any awards on Satyajit Ray, and that's why I suggested
Are you
because
sure?
yeah, because Satyajit Ray award is not there yet in any of the festivals, not in even national award or in EFI or Kerala. Uh,
I
Satyajit Ray
don't
award.
believe this. I mean, this is a news to me because I just took it for granted that there must be some award, at least if
No,
not at
unfortunately, it's
national
not
level, at least
there, and that's
in.
what, not at least in global platform like your festival. Maybe regional festivals or small time festivals. I have no idea about that, but like festivals of reputation, like yours and the names that I took, they
Yes.
don't have a Satyajit Ray award. And he was the only one I think who actually got I mean from India to Oscars. He was the one who took Indian cinema to global
Well, I
platform
mean,
in real time.
I'll just tell you an anecdote here. I mean, since we are talking and we are digressing from the topic, and why not? I mean, it's all for the knowledge,
Yeah, yeah, it's
which
all
is
about cinema.
since we already have a Best Producers Award in the memory of Mr. Ismail Merchant. Uh,
I
as
adore
you
him.
would
I've
be
seen all his
knowing,
films. Ivory
sorry.
Merchants. I
Yes,
adore him, and I've seen all his
yes,
films.
I did two productions with them, and I'm proud that I
Which
was
one?
associated with them. Cotton Mary and In Custody.
Ah,
Um, um, so that's when we got to hear the story, and when we used to chat with Mr. Smile and Avery in the evenings, over a coffee or a beer and etc. So that's when we got to know that how much credit was goes to Ismail ji for getting the Oscar to Satyajit Ray ji when he was in the hospital, because he had to go out of his way to convince the people and the authority at Oscars to bring the Oscar to India in the
yeah, it's a
hospital and
huge
hand it
thing
over to. So
at his
Mr. Ismail Merchant
hospital
was the
bed.
man behind that. So
Oh wow.
since we have an award in memory of Mr. Merchant, it'll be really great to have it in the name of Mr. Satyajit Ray. I hope that I get a permission from the family members and allow us,
Sandeep
because
Ray, yes.
we
Sandeep
yes,
Ray, his
so
son
yes,
is
so we
there.
will have to go about that. We do draw out permissions from the concerned family members to grant these kind of permissions to us. Uh, to have lend some validity to the entire thing, and we make sure and ensure that our awards are given to the worthy candidates. Anyhow, so having discussed this, we'll now move on with your beautiful film. I know Madhavi is restless with her questions, so yes, Madhavi, go on.
No, I just went into the angle of Satyajit Ray, actually. That's how
Yes,
it
we all do that.
Yeah,
So,
coming back to Omji and your question, tell me.
yes, I want to know, in brief, why you, I mean, tell us something about the cast and, the concept behind it. Of course, it's yeah, sorry, just go ahead.
No, the thing is that this making this film was very difficult from the word go. My
Mhm.
earlier two films, Cakewalk and Seasons Greeting. Cakewalk was with Aisha Deol and Seasons Greeting was with Selena Jetli and Lilith Dubey. So obviously they are established actors and reputed actors from uh, Bollywood, from Indian cinema.
Yeah.
But when it came to Rickshawala, the casting was a bit difficult for me because all actors came with a kind of a baggage. None of them were willing to kind of give that much of heart and soul time to a project like this because it was again an independent project. And I felt that if I cast somebody who's already known, uh, the first reaction of my audience would be that, ha, he's an actor and he's playing this role. So I wanted to go completely new and fresh, and I started looking for faces. So I did audition in for character in. I started the audition in Calcutta, and so what happened was I was either getting a good actor, and I was not getting the right body and the body language, and if I was getting the right body, I was not getting the performance. So
Mhm.
I was almost on the verge of giving up the hope of making Rickshawala the way I wanted to. And that's when I was in Bombay, and I got invited to a typical Bollywood party, a birthday party. And that's where I just noticed a person who was at the bar, standing all alone. And I was thinking that his face is something very intriguing. So I don't know whether he's an actor, he's not an actor. So I just approached him and I said that, I'm so and so, and I've made this, and I want to offer you a role. So he sounded very excited, and later on, I came to know that he's a new actor. He's not worked in films per se, but he's done theater, and he is interested in new sort of role. So cut to I he says that let's meet, and then in Bombay we meet, and I'm waiting at one of the coffee shops, and I see him driving in BMW and parking his BMW outside my coffee shop, and I was like, oh God, I've gone wrong, because I don't know, because he was wearing his Gucci sunglass, and he just swerved in designer blazer to impress this director. I'm like, my God, like अब इसको कैसे रिक्शा वाला बनाऊं मैं? So then I was like, okay, and I just thought that let's have coffee and let's call it a day, because he कैसे रिक्शा वाला बनेगा? Because anyway, so then he walked in, and then he sat and said, "Ha, tell me the story." And I'm like, I'm like, okay, now what story do I narrate to him? So they said that
Mm.
anything wrong? I said, no, I mean, like, you're a Bandra boy, you're BMW, and you're in a designer outfit, but this story is completely
You're in a
different.
branded car.
Yeah, and so then I was like, I said, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
but I know that you're not going to kind of do this film, because I thought that he is typical one of those, that I want to do
Yeah, yeah,
Bollywood film. Yeah.
yeah,
So he
yeah.
got probably excited because he because I told him that I did a film with Isha Deol and Salina and Lilith. So he must be in his head, he must be thinking that this must be a Bollywood film which he's offering me. So anyway, so I narrated
Yeah.
him the story, and the best part is that after hearing this, Avinash, my lead actor, Avinash Divedi, after hearing the story, he said that, what do I have to do for this? I said that you have to give up all these things which you've got to show me that you have and you're flaunting. So you need to kind of do away with everything, and you need to get into a hardcore workshop. I was completely stunned with his dedication, with his see, every actor is dedicated. I wouldn't say that actors are not dedicated, but the level of dedication varies. This is what I
Exactly.
understand as a director. It is very wrong to say that this actor was not dedicated.
Mhm.
But the level of dedication, like some students are really focused, some students are not. But that doesn't mean that the student is bad. So it's my understanding of actors. Anyways, so then he actually agreed to come to Calcutta. Not just that, I gave him the script. He read the script. They were Bengal. The Hindi dialogues he was pretty fine with, though they were in Maithili and the Bhojpuri language. So he had to kind of mug up the dialect.
Mm.
The Bengali dialogues he wanted me to record and send it across. So I had recorded and sent it across. I had a provision of dubbing his Bengali part. But when he actually reached Kolkata, and we started the workshop and we were doing our dialogues, I was completely stunned that he had not only mugged up the entire script, not only his dialogue, he knew dialogues of his co-actors. And he was willing to give that time to that character, Manoj's character. He stayed there, he stayed in the city. He was in a particular diet for a particular look. And
Yes.
we also made sure that we actually get the locations that you see in the film, why the film is being appreciated across the world. at all various global platforms is because all the locations are real. Even the house that we have shot is a real house of a rickshawala. It's not a set. We've not created anything. So we actually went on to a rickshawala. We requested them that we want to shoot. So the rickshawala family was waiting outside while we were shooting the
That's
room
great.
scenes and all those the kitchen scenes.
And even the rickshaw was be real too,
And the
then.
rickshaw was real. We had to keep a continuity, so we had to get a particular rickshawala every day. He would come.
Yeah.
So before that, you know what? Avinash started pulling the rickshaw in the bylanes of Calcutta. And initially, obviously, he was wearing slippers, sneakers.
Hmm.
Later on, then because there was a scene where he's pulling the rickshaw barefoot, so he had to pull the rickshaw barefoot. Now we are talking about uh, March, April, May, and it's crazy out there in Calcutta. Whoever's been to Calcutta, you know how crazy the summers are. So
Hmm.
I mean, this kind of dedication, this kind of input, I don't think that I would have gotten from any other actor. So this is a plus. And of course, there were other actors who had equally put in that effort, which is Sangeeta, who's Sinha, and then there's Kasturi Chakrabarti, there's Vishwajit. There are so many actors who are in the film who has put in that effort. So it was great. I mean, there are very funny anecdotes and funny incidents
I'm
also, but
sure there must be a lot of anecdotes to tell, and we can talk about that all evening. But in fact, this the dedication part reminds me of the incidents where Nasiruddin Shah and Shabana Azmi both they were required to cross that river, and when they were shooting
Par,
for Par,
Gautam Bhatt.
yes, the kind of preparation that they went into, I think that was something really
Oh, that's one of my favorite films. I
knowing,
mean,
and we
yeah,
heard them talk about that film later. So this reminds me of that. I mean, because when you said you have an actor who is used to driving a BMW and you're asking him to pull a rickshaw, uh, it's really for him to come down at that level, mentally and physically, and and accept, because actors these days we see are struggling to create an image for themselves, and you're lucky
correct.
to have an actor who was that dedicated.
Yes, completely. I mean, one little incident of, I mean, dedication is there, but the physical, what you call, I'm not getting the term, the physical, torture is not the right, but the physical exertion that he went through is obviously, and I can't explain it in my words,
Yeah.
because we were shooting at lanes of Calcutta, and where there's no facility. We didn't have vanity vans. We couldn't even use washrooms. We had to kind of knock people's home and request if they could lend their washroom to kind of for him to pee. And so he had to hold his pee for hours because there was no public loo also with the places we were shooting in
Well,
at.
that props up a question that maybe the municipalities need to look into this factor that there are not enough public toilets.
There aren't. I mean, toilet in Prem
I,
Katha is really a Prem Katha. It's not happening.
okay, so now coming back to your the scripting part. I mean, since you've been shooting in the alleys of Kolkata, and so how much was the story inspired by the true events from Calcutta or your own experiences? Did you see a person or a driver or a rickshaw puller who
I
had a
had
similar
seen
kind
many.
of?
As I said that I had two fixed rickshawalas uh, when I was a kid. No, so when actually I grew up and I understood that it is not right to kind of ride on another person, so I stopped using rickshaw, uh, hand pulley rickshaw. But when I was a kid, yeah, I used to kind of ride on a hand pulley rickshaw, and just opposite my house there was a shop. There was a snack shop where they used to come and sit in the evening and would have their sattu ka sharbat and litti choka and all that food. And so I knew that what are the staple diet and what they drink, and if they are tired how they sleep. And
Bhanpuri, right?
so all that is
Yeah.
came into the script, and I think it made it more authentic because of my personal experience. As far as the characters are concerned, yes, the characters, I won't say that they are they're real characters. I mean, inspired from real incidents, but these characters are there in Calcutta. I have seen them in bits and pieces in various characters in various houses. So, as a director, what my job was to bring in certain nuances from all the experience that I have had gathered in Calcutta while seeing these people, and probably divided into two female characters apart from the rickshawala. So you see, there's a housewife and there's a girlfriend. So the housewife probably represents the characters that are in the house in Calcutta. So it's about inside and outside. So even if you see my main poster is not yet released, but that has the theme of Rickshawala, the main poster, which I'm going to probably release it when uh, we are looking for India premiere on an OTT platform next year. So that has this housewife inside the house, which looks like a cage in the window, and the girlfriend is standing outside, and the rickshawala is on the rickshaw. So you will have this whole feel that what is it about. So it also speaks a lot about the sexual freedom of women. If I'm sure you guys have seen the film by now, so it talks about sexual freedom of women. So whenever I have touched upon on a film or a subject, I have not been just talking about one aspect of it. So if you
Yes,
see,
that's what we see. There are multiple layers in your storytelling. I mean, you're dealing with a guy who's aspirational, who wants to break away from his poverty and get into a much more busier or a high-profile lifestyle, and he's struggling to break away and enter into another kind of the social status, and how the things are pulling him down, how much he has to battle, and you are showing what the people from the other status are going through, especially the emotional turmoils. Which is where I think Madhavi was pointing out a very interesting question to me. Madhavi, maybe you can question on that, on the wife's portion.
Seriously? Can I go ahead?
Yes.
No, okay, I would love to ask you, but before that, I would like to ask Sahitya for choosing why you chose this subject. What made you so fascinated towards this?
Uh, Actually, it's the same thing that we are discussing right now. It's the fact that a lot of important issues have been addressed in this narrative, which is
Hmm.
social economic disparity, unemployment,
Right, right.
exploitation, the desires of a woman, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the dignity of labor as well. And
Absolutely.
actually, my question was related with this, so I would like to ask my question to the
Sure,
director.
sure, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
As far as I understand, the filming must have been slightly, you can say, guerrilla style. So, how much of the script gets translated into the scene while shooting? And you had so many issues to tackle with. So, how do you walk that thin line of not getting too diverted from the narrative and just getting too preachy about it? How do you manage all these things?
I love your question because it
Yeah,
was
it
a
was
task.
actually very precise. It was very precise description about everything, whether it's right from a little child who is drawing, two dolphins that were, or a duck, whatever I remember, right from there up till the house or whatever. Very detailing. It's a very minute detailing that you have shown in a very precise manner. So yes, that question is nice. I like
On a lighter note, I think all Bengali directors have the kira of detailing. So, so we go a little overboard with
Okay,
our.
so let's call it as a Kira of directing now.
Yeah, so that kira is definitely there, but
Huh.
that becomes a little irritating for others also at times. But why are being so minute about little things? But yeah, we are. That's a
Hmm.
problem. But I
No,
like
we
a
love it.
question because I like a question because my when I'm writing a script or when I'm choosing on a subject, I know for a fact that this is the prime story. So this is the main fulcrum or the spine of my story. Now, every story is like a skeleton. So you have a head and you have a body and limb and etc. But your spine cannot go wrong. If your spine goes wrong, then your film, like any human being, falls flat. So your spine needs to be exactly, you need to be very sure about the basic structure of your story. So I wanted to tell a story of a person. The whole magic of this storytelling is that I try to change the perspective. Anybody in making a film on a rickshawala would have made a very sad, sober story or somber story or a story of pathos of an old man trying to pull hand pulley rickshaw and facing problems, etc. What Sahitya has very rightly observed and mentioned is that I had placed the son in the position of the father, and the son represents youth. And very specifically, he says that we start the film where he is actually in search of job, where he wants to, change his present and his future, but situation is not helping him to achieve his dream. Though he's educated and he's dating a girlfriend, he's not too proud of his father's vocation. All that is there, but then he's in a situation that if he doesn't pull the rickshaw because it is a daily wage uh, profession.
Aspect.
uh,
Yeah.
so if you don't pull a rickshaw or you don't do your daily wage, then you will not be able to earn money. And they don't have savings. And these are the facts. I mean, they really don't have savings, and a lot of them don't even have bank accounts. Like in real rickshawala cases, when we wanted to help them for charity or during this winter, we wanted to give them some warm clothes and etc. Om Puri Foundation wanted to do something, but unfortunately they don't have bank accounts, so we couldn't help them. Like, we have to go physically and give them the chal dal da chawal dal and you know chaddar and everything physically. So we couldn't give them back. So they don't have banks. So where will they save? I mean, they save under the trunk, or वो जो लक्ष्मी जी का जो मिट्टी का होता है उसके अंदर में they put in
Or
coins.
maybe or maybe inside the rice,
Yeah, the rice,
containers
they
what
they
they
stack,
have,
they
the
hide
dal
all those things.
containers.
Yeah, exactly. So for them, a mobile phone
See, I'm thinking from
is a
my
huge
woman
thing.
perspective. Do you understand?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So it's a huge thing. So coming back to Sahitya's
Huh.
question
Yeah.
again is that when I am telling a story, I know what exactly I'm trying to say. But when my subplot comes in, I don't bring in a subplot just for the sake of subplot. So my subplot also needs to convey something which is not, which doesn't have to specifically convey or agree with the main plot. I don't know whether I'm being able to explain it to you or not,
Of course,
but
it makes
my
sense. It
sub,
makes sense.
yeah, my subplot doesn't need to be in tandem with my main plot, but my subplot can parallelly tell another story which
Hmm.
merges with my main plot. So it is basically, if you see French cinema, or if you see Iranian films, uh, maybe a Kiarostami or a Majdi or these kind of cinema, if you have seen. So
We
I'm
have a lot of Iranian films with us. We have films from more than 50 countries this year, and
super.
we
I
have
love
a lot of
Iranian cinema.
Israeli films,
So
Palestinian films, Iranian films, and we have some of the new age Iranian directors and the writers' films which are kick-ass. I mean, they are
yeah,
just mind-blowing, and they just, you just can't stop watching them. We've had multiple sessions with all those film directors from Iran,
super.
and
So
the
that is what
actors
I
and
think.
the
I
writers.
think what Iranian cinema does is, with their restrictions, with their laws and censorship,
Absolutely,
the way
absolutely,
they say stories or they
Ab-
convey different kind of stories, it's amazing. They don't crib and cry that, we can't show this, we can't show that, we can't talk about this, we can't talk about that. We have these platforms talking and ranting and saying that hum ye karna chahte hain, humko karne nahi de rahe hain. But they don't say that. They make the film. They are just brilliant.
Absolutely.
I mean, if
Absolutely.
you're a filmmaker, use your brain because you have the biggest tool on earth, which is audio and visual. So if you
Yes.
can't,
Absolutely.
if you get stuck somewhere because of a censorship or a government policy, and you can't express yourself with the audio and visual, then you're in the wrong profession.
Exactly, because the film is the strongest
A
tool to
cautious
influence
one.
minds and change the society or change the political waves, in fact, or maybe create the political waves. So, coming
Even
back to your
there was a very important scene in the film, just to kind of point on Sahitya's.
I would like to mention. I would like to mention. I would like to
Tell
ask
me, which is
rather.
your favorite scene? Which is your favorite scene? Tell me.
Yeah, my favorite scene. Of course, the whole movie. I loved it, but the fact at the end when I see that the guy, the main character, so proudly says, "Yes, my father is a rickshawala, and I also used to, be a rickshawala. Now I'm going to, attend an interview." So see, there's a diversification. Like, he did that job. He's now again back to his own profession where he wanted to
basically, he's coming
pursue.
to terms with and he is accepting reality and for what he is. He is
Absolutely,
no more
absolutely.
shy of his reality.
Not
Uh,
about his reality, also about his family,
exactly.
where he
Yes.
belongs to.
Yeah.
So I really like that.
So
You
Ram,
should
you were
never
answering
forget your
to
roots.
Sahitya's question, so it will be great to hear you.
Sorry, I missed you on that.
You wanted to answer to Sahitya's question.
Yeah, I was answering his question only. There was a particular scene which I guess Sahitya will also agree with it, that all the men are sitting and talking about the situation of the city and at the tea stall, and that's where he actually walks up to the. He could have walked away, but he wanted to face them, so he walks up to them and he says that you're criticizing us. That's the migrant issue that I have dealt in the very small way. That okay, you're criticizing that all the Biharis are here in our city, and the Marwadis are here in our city. Now we all have started, seeing our city as our city and their city as their city. So we are in a different world, different understanding of nationalism, I guess. But so that's what I wanted to kind of address, where he actually walks up to these people and they say that I can speak Bengali. I am an educated person. Even I know the poetries and Rabindranath Tagore and Jibananda Das and all that stuff. Will you be able to give me a job? So actually, they don't have an answer, because when you have unemployment, when you have these every year, these you know
Exactly. I
lakhs
mean, this
and
is
lakhs of
this is a
students are
beautiful
passing, and
depiction. In fact, it's a beautiful depiction of the political scenario and the condition that we live in, or today's youth is living in. That you have a highly educated youth, which is jobless, unemployed, and forced into doing odd jobs. So that's the harsh reality of life, and I guess you are making a very valid political statement very nicely through a very beautiful film.
there's another scene, very subtle. I don't know whether a lot of people in India might understand, but internationally they had a very beautiful interpretation. A Spanish director wrote me a beautiful mail, and I was very surprised that there's this scene where he's pulling the rickshaw, and the girl and the lady says Durga Durga and said Jai Shri Ram, boliye Jai Shri Ram.
Yes.
So that's my way of telling cinema. I don't have to kind of
I'll
spoon
just
feed
quickly
you. I
insert
don't
a
have.
point over here. Since you were mentioning about the migration, migrants issue here, we at this festival have been getting films from all across the globe, and trust me, uh, invariably, and the theme of most of the films are dealing. Of course, political issues are there, but the major themes are migration, the immigration. People are displaced. Either voluntarily or by force. and their conditions are not good anywhere, whether we talk about our country or we talk about any other country in this world. The universal theme right now in the world cinema, as we say, the world cinema, is immigration. So
I agree with you, and that's why I think globally the film is doing so well.
exactly, because it's very relatable, and the unemployment and the status quo and the status, the difference, the society that we are living in. And just imagine, I mean, it's a bitter murder of your emotions, your romance, your love, your aspirations, just because you don't have those $2 in your pocket.
Hmm. And
You
I
know
don't know
how
how far Sahitya and I'm sorry, I can't read my. I have an Madhavi and Sahitya. Whether you understand Bengali language or not,
I
but even
do.
the song that is used in the
I
film,
do. I do.
you do. Even the song,
Yeah.
the lyrics are
আমি
written
কিছু
by me.
কিছু বাংলা বলতে পারি।
কিছু কিছু বলতে হবে। তাহলে তো খুব ভালো কথা, but we'll not go into the whole Bengali scene now, because let the national audience also understand what you're talking about. But the song that I have used in the film is also not just for the sake of it being there. So the song actually speaks,
Narrates a story. It has a story in the song.
it also speaks the mind of the rickshaw.
Hmm.
So it is actually what you hear is what is playing in his psyche, in his
Yeah.
brain. So it's a different kind of, which I said that in the Spanish director, when he wrote to me, he said that it is a beautiful way of seeing a song where actually the lyrics are reflection of his mind, which is not,
Hmm.
probably he says that he's not seen it in cinema ever, that a song can become a reflection of somebody's thought. So that was, I
Mhm.
think, I was very happy.
Yes, yes, yes. It's something. It's new for me too.
Yeah.
It is good. It's
Sahitya,
good to put that over there.
Sahitya, you have any other question to ask?
Oh no, actually, I'm just glad that from India there is someone who can compete with the cinematic language and grammar of the Iranians or French, and I'm really happy to see this film, which has so many layers in it. And I wish him all the best. He
It's
makes much more
it's
films
a
like that.
pleasant surprise and a change to see a topic of
Absolutely.
Shakula coming out from an Indian filmmaker. We don't have to rely on foreign filmmakers to tell our own stories and
Oh
conditions.
God, that's too much of a burden.
No, it's not a burden. I think that's we all artists. In fact, as artists, we do carry a certain degree of social responsibility while providing the entertainment and creating business out of it. But that the question of the social responsibility must not disappear.
Creating a business out of it. Don't forget
Yes.
that term.
Yeah. And
Okay.
how much are you influenced by the literature? Because what we see in your the storytelling is the nuances or bit the romance. You know, it reminds of a lot of stories, the Bangla stories of the great writers earlier. You know, it has the glimpses of those. I mean, although you've written the story yourself, but it does remind me of Chokher Bali, and you know, it does. I mean,
It
it
Yeah, I
has.
mean,
reminds me.
Bengali writers are, they are all devdas in the head. So
Ah, absolutely.
so they will never get that paros in their life. So that's the line. Now you can make it a Bhansali version, you can make it a Bimal Roy version, you can make it an any version, and I mean Devdas has been made in 11 languages, including Japanese. So I guess that's somewhere the dejection in love works. And we are very happy to kind of sit with our old monk or wine and talk about, oh, she was so beautiful, but I didn't get her. So this thing works beautifully with Bengalis. So I think, yeah, I mean, on a serious note, yes, literature always influences us in general, a filmmaker. And I think a filmmaker who doesn't read or doesn't have knowledge about literature is somebody who is like an architect who wants to make a building but doesn't know what cement is or what bricks stands for. So it is the core. I mean, unless and until you know what your basic is, I mean, unless you know the alphabets, how will you write a sentence, to be very honest? So literature is very important because that helps you in understanding various graphs and various shades of characters. I would not say that I only read Bengali text. I read a lot of Western text, and including Hindi. I read Munshi Premchandji. I read Vrindavanal Verma. I have read Ramayana and Mahabharata in various versions of various authors. Of course, Tagore and Bankim Chandra and Sarat Chandra, they are the classics. They are the masters in literature. So I have read them also, along with Shakespeare and everything. So all the literature, the classic, I would say, that always inspires you as a filmmaker, because these stories are timeless. As you said, Chokhet Bali, I mean, Tagore is so timeless. Even
Yeah.
in my film Seasons Greeting, I have used his Maithili language song, which I felt that Indian audience is not too exposed to Tagore songs. When we talk about Tagore, they only start up and sing national anthem. So, but this gentleman had a lot of contribution in terms of music, in terms of lyrics, in terms of uh, words. So it's beyond time. Even Gulzarji says the same thing, because uh, he is a huge fan of literature, and I am heavily inspired by Gulzar Sahab. So I do read up his books. I do read up his his short stories about his journey from Pakistan to India and all that stuff. His films have inspired me a lot. Rishikesh Mukherjee has inspired me a lot. Mani Ratnam has inspired me a lot, because I think Mani Ratnam, he just paints. His films are poetry. So
Yes,
I
that's
have
what I
always
want to know.
admired
That
Mani
how
Ratnam.
important, like you said, the literature is important for the filmmakers. How important do you think is the painting or the sculpting or the photography art, as per se, or the music for?
I would like to kind of, talk a little bit about my past, because I've been a journalist, and I've been fortunate, as you have been fortunate as as an industry person to work with this legend. As a journalist, a lot of people actually envy me because I started very young, and I think, one of those journalists who had interviewed Adur Gopalakrishnan, Shyam Babu, Govind Nilani, Rituparna Ghosh, Aparna Sen, Gautam Ghosh, Buddhadev Dasgupta, Mani Ratnam, Ilayaraja, M. Kareem, Abbas Kiarostami, Majid Majidi. So I have been somebody who was fortunate enough to kind of meet them one on one and talk
You're really
about
making me
cinema.
envy you. Yes, you're really indeed. You're making me envy you.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
I
yeah,
asked this question
I'm
because
sorry. So Mrinal Sen, and
yes.
yeah, I mean, Mrinal Sen
I
meeting Mrinal.
think I think it's a what's your story wala material, please.
We'll get him on What's Your Story later. Yes, of course. So,
Yes.
coming back to the basic question here, Ram, because see, Lift, it stands for literature, illusion, film, frame, TV, and
Ji.
theater. So, when we say frame, it encompasses the paintings and the photography and
Oh,
basically
I've
the fine.
interviewed MF Hussain during Meenakshi. He was here,
Yes,
and I still remember that we were all taking the lift, and
yeah.
Hussain Saab took the stairs, and he reached before us. So he said, "तुम लोग अभी 20 साल 21 साल के सब नौजवान लिफ्ट में चढ़ते हो, और मुझे देखो मैं सीढ़ी से आ गया और तुम लोग के पहले पहुंच गया." And he actually reached
Yeah.
before us. I mean, my
Actually,
God.
yes, I know so many of our seniors. That includes my dad also. I mean, he never takes his lift when he
Elevator,
sees
yeah.
there's a line. He just walks up the stairs.
We're just
Even
a
at the
bunch
age
of
of 80,
lazy
that's
people.
what he does. And
Hmm.
my jaws drop when he does this. So anyhow, so therefore, how important do you think this allied arts is for a filmmaker?
I think it should move seamlessly. This Obviously it is very important. Without literature, there is no story. Without a story, there is no cinema. When you talk about cinema, obviously frames, because visuals, and then the sound and the music part. So everything comes together, and the final product is cinema. So cinema cannot stand individually without any of these. So I quite like the whole idea of your film festival because it is very core, and without these lifelines, I would say, cinema would not be able to uh, breathe. So, I mean, you can't think of a cinema unless you've gone completely experimental and overboard, and where there is no story, you've gone completely non-linear, or you're just talking about certain, you know, certain expression throughout your timeline, and you're not telling a story. That's a completely different discussion altogether. But worldwide, we all want to see a story, and that is where cinema stands, because everywhere we've grown up with fairy tales, we've grown up with our grandparents telling stories, we've grown up with our parents telling stories, and we all want to hear stories. So story to literature se hi aayegi. And frame what you're talking about, meet painting. Now painting is also very important, I would say. In my personal experience, I like the Raja Ravi Verma's painting. I have seen a lot of painting in Shantiniketan. Tagore used to paint. His brothers used to paint. There are a lot of. I myself used to be a painter when I was in a child, and yeah. So never mind. But painting actually gives you a very good idea of texture. So if you actually know your frame well, and if you would have to tell this story as a storyboard or as a painting, how would you say? So that helps you when you are a filmmaker. Like if you actually want to tell your cinematographer that this is what you want, this is the light you want, this is the frame you want, it always helps. And it always helps because I'm not uh, a trained director, I'm not from any school. My school is what you said just now, that my school is what I read and what I understood of literature, art, music, and whatever I have seen and interacted with the masters. So that is my school. I've never been physically to a director to learn or to assist uh, before making films. A lot of people discouraged me, in fact, with when I wanted to do a film, cakewalk, that told me you're not trained, you should have somebody, and you should observe, and then you should do. But somewhere in my mind, I always felt that as an author, I've written books. As a journalist, I have reported, I have narrated a lot of stories. So if I can tell a story very simplistic manner, then I think I'll be able to achieve. As far as the visuals and the audio is concerned, if you have a good ear for music and if you are aesthetic enough, then obviously you would be able to kind of bring in that through your lenses.
Thank you for an exhaustive, wonderful session, Ram. It's been great talking to you. I don't know if we have exhausted all our questions. If we haven't, then we'll surely come up with them in our next session with you quite soon. Uh, Thank you for sharing your time with us.
It was completely my pleasure interacting with you all, and I'm very happy that for the first time where I'm interacting with a group of people, with a bunch of talented people who are trying to do a different kind of a film festival, and who have actually seen the film, who have actually understood the cinema, and they are actually talking to the director to kind of reach to make possible this film reach out to larger audience. So it is my pleasure and honor indeed.
Thank you, and I hope that your film brings about some change, betterment for the rickshawalas in Kolkata.
Yes, it is my wish too. I hope
It's
that I'll
time.
be able to tell their story properly. I mean, I hope that
Yeah.
they feel happy that somebody has kind of come forth and told their story.
Right.
Thank you, Ram. Madhavi, you can wrap in your style.
So my style is sir, aap chha gaye aaj. And as per your name says Ram Kamal Mukherjee, so I know you're going to shine out there. You are shining, and I wish more shine onto your way, and wish you all the best from my heart and from the very our team, of Lift India. So I wish you all the best, sir. I'm too
Touch
small
wood.
to say
Thank
this,
you.
but
Looking forward.
yeah. So thank you,
Thank
Kamal.
you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Thank
much.
you, Sahitya. Thank you, Madhavi.
Thank you, sir.